So, hi everyone, welcome back. So excited to have Wes Moon here, COO and co-founder at Wisely. And we're going to talk about AI for nonprofits. So, welcome, Wes.
Hi, Michelle. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks so much for joining our summit. I'm really excited to talk to you about AI and fundraising and all
I'm
that.
very excited to be here.
Wonderful. So a few things about Mike that you may not know, just wanted to put it out there if you don't know. So Wes has raised an inordinate amount of money for the betterment of society. So that's always great. And like we're talking billions, is that right?
Not billions, but I've been involved in the raising of hundreds of millions for sure.
Amazing. Wow. Okay. Well, we'll have to get into that a little later because that's fascinating and amazing. His technology background as well is equally incredible. So he works with companies like Blackbaud. So that's pretty cool. And recently he launched, as I mentioned, his own technology company focused on fundraising called Wisely.
That's exactly right. I've worked both in the nonprofit sector as a fundraiser and a technologist, and made the leap into technology with Blackbaud. And now, of course, we founded Wisely and bringing AI to the nonprofit sector.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I had a look at the site and I was just blown away. I was like, this is exactly like huge gap in the marketplace. And I know it would help so many organizations and fundraisers just do their jobs more efficiently, easily. And, I know finding donors is so difficult. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, exactly. The nonprofit sector as a whole has very few tools, technology tools that are purpose built, and really designing something from scratch for nonprofits gives it a big advantage over trying to, Frankenstein a for-profit solution onto a nonprofit need.
Yeah, amazing. Can you run us through just like high level how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. So every day, Wisely's making predictions on donors, saying, we kind of consume the data from your CRM, and we make a prediction about how much and when people will give, the confidence in those gifts. Will someone renew or lapse? We continue to add new models to our prediction engine, and we really want to be able to help any fundraiser or fundraising operations person who's supporting the frontline fundraising team, the intelligence to be smart about who they approach when they're approaching donors and how much they should be asking.
That's like unreal. That's amazing. Yeah. And if we talk about what's the importance for AI for fundraisers and how does that all work in terms of your company? You sort of gave us the breakdown, but what is that?
Yeah, the artificial intelligence aspect of what we're doing is really to automate the intuition of a fundraiser. So a really good fundraiser, if they know a donor, can make educated guesses that would be similar to what we could produce. The big difference is that we can help new fundraisers, for instance, achieve the same type of result on their guesses to say, hey, this, Michelle looks like she's a $20,000 donor. Her gift is coming in this fall. I should reach out to Michelle. The most experienced fundraisers kind of know that intuitively through their experience. But because human beings are actually quite predictable at scale, we can then analyze giving habits and wealth indicators of individual donors to see what are they going to do next. So when we think of that concept of automating the intuition at scale, we can do that for every donor that has ever given to you before, and we do it every single day. Which again, you don't have enough. No nonprofit has enough fundraisers to do that.
I was just going to say, like, fundraising is probably one of the hardest jobs out there. And this is amazing what it can do in terms of support and making their jobs so much easier.
Yeah. Like one of the challenges that fundraisers face is that time is really their most valuable asset. And they struggle in part because donors are giving money to the good works like saving puppies or curing cancer. And the people who work in those nonprofits also care about those things. So they want as much money as they can push into their mission to go there. So it's hard for a nonprofit to actually pay for time. So anything that can support a fundraiser's effective use of time, I think, is a worthwhile endeavor for the entire sector.
Amazing. And you kind of touched on it, but can you give us a real world example of utilizing this AI, like some kind of scenario?
Sure. I might even use a non-fundraising scenario first. And we found that, AI can feel a little bit like a scary topic in the whole world. I know Google's constantly feeding me news, and the headline of the AI story, because I read a lot about AI, is that Skynet or the Terminator or the robots are coming for us, and that really isn't true yet. That's generalized AI. We're still quite a ways away from it, but we all actually use AI in our everyday lives now. Take for instance Google Maps, and Michelle, I don't know if you're old enough to remember when MapQuest came out, and what an innovative product that was. I can tell you, no one's using MapQuest anymore. But when we think of that concept of automating the intuition of an individual, we no longer have the overhead to figure out where we're going, pre-planning directions, understanding what time we need to leave to get to an appointment. Our phones are doing all of that for us using AI. And when I think about what is a real world application for nonprofit, I'd probably want to tell a story. We've got a case study on our website of a rising star fundraiser. Back in January of this year, a gentleman was hired by Colonial Gospel Mission out west, and he had no fundraising experience, and he had started his first day at KGM 2 weeks before I met him. So we start working with Troy. We set him up with a Wisely account, and to have the senior fundraiser's intuition when you're starting out in your fundraising career is actually pretty powerful. We built him a portfolio. In fact, Troy built up his own portfolio, started contacting the donors that we were recommending to him, just based on past giving and future giving. And in his first 90 days on the job, actually, he had raised $70,000. He's now at this point in the year $360,000, and the ambitious goal that they set for Troy in his first year was 100,000. So it being able to sort of follow that guided process, which is really just fundraising best practice. Since I started in the industry back in '98, it was already established. But automating it and giving the intelligence to the fundraiser about the donor makes it easy to execute. So that's the big difference. So Troy isn't using, we'll call it MapQuest or traditional paper maps. He just has at his fingertips the right thing to do at any moment.
Thanks for that compliment. I'm going to take it, but I know what MapQuest is. So that's an amazing example. And was 7 times his goal. Like that's crazy, that fundraising goal, to make that happen and putting that power and that support and the success into these nonprofits that need that is like, it honestly for me is unreal. Do you have any takeaways for our audience?
Well, one takeaway I'd say is nonprofits really need to take a good look in the mirror. And they have largely operated in the same way until March of 2020. March of 2020 created the most change I've seen in the sector probably in 10 or 20 years combined. People had to go to touchless, animal adoption, for instance. That's one I like to talk about. And they had to do that overnight. They major gifts. This is usually we're having lunch and we're having tea or something like that to, build the relationships. And you don't have to always do that exact thing. So there's a lot of change that took place. But what we still need to see is that same pace in which nonprofits began to digitize their operations and their communications. That's got to continue. And if it doesn't, if you're not doing that as a nonprofit, who are you losing to? You're going to lose to, well, maybe the nonprofits that are doing it, but you're also going to be losing to big corporations who are very good at this. And they have their missions that they're trying to achieve, which is all part of someone's wallet share, we'll call it. And if you're getting the level of personalization from some certain Facebook ads, because Facebook or any of these advertising platforms are incredibly powerful at targeting and convincing people to do stuff. If you're not playing in that market today, you got to start understanding what it is and how you can actually engage with your constituents, your prospects. Otherwise, you're going to be too far behind. And, it's really tough to play catch up when people are really far ahead of you. So nonprofits need to continue to innovate and digitize. Otherwise, we might see the balance of power in the entire sector change.
Amazing. Wes, thanks so much for joining our summit. It was a great chat today. I encourage people to check out one of your webinars and the Wisely site. Lots of great information. And if you don't know about it, you certainly can learn more and do a webinar, as I mentioned. And yeah, thanks so much again.
Yeah, that's great. For anyone who's interested, we offer free trials of our software. Modern software company, we understand there's always risk in joining, buying software. We de-risk it for you. You can check us out at fundraisewisely.com.
Amazing. Thanks again, Wes.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.